good to have you back, Doctor, once again, talking about topic number 7 in terms of technology disruptors, and also how technology disruption is going to make a key element of how to fight climate change. So I thought I'd just share some of my thoughts around and some of the research that we have done understanding the criticality of emerging technologies. How some technologies are actually already here and it's quite functional. So if I may say, start with a very positive note. This is a subject which you have been elaborating in your entire career, how to use technology in terms of fighting code red. So good news is that almost 82% of investors and C-suites and CEOs around the world believe that sustainability is a business imperative, and it also increases its sustainability as not as a key business. It's a key business driver, not just a cost center. So they believe that that's a positivity that I see in this, is because generative AI as a sustainability endeavor, they see how it can be improved in terms of its achieving optimization processes, develop innovation, and at the same time environmentally friendly, and also to make it profitable.
Correct.
One of the things that also they believe that it needs to be data-driven decision making. Most of the C-suites are believing that when you're making decisions, it has to be data-driven. So in order to have that data-driven culture, even for AI disruptors to kind of help businesses and individuals and governments to fight climate change, it's a key factor. And also reduction of some of the inefficiencies. You need to have a strong data foundation. So this is one of the things that businesses that we encounter, and we try to fix it at the first instance itself. Rather than we're trying to go and do changes, we try to understand and analyze what is your data foundation protocol is at this stage. Because if you look at a product or a services from the cradle to grave, what are your touch points and how do we improve that? So in this scenario, what we are trying to elaborate here is that mostly for our listeners to understand that optimization of your operation while using generative AI, what are the things that you can achieve out of it? So for example, if you are a business which has asset heavy, give you predictive maintenance opportunity, supply chain optimization, energy efficiencies. I think you will talk a lot on these areas, and also how to drive certain new material into predictive product life cycles, optimizing packages, data-driven insights. So therefore, you can improve all these areas. So I'm quite eager to hear what you have to say about this area, something which you have been working for many, many years, Doctor. So I'm excited and looking forward to hear what new technology disruption, how we can help businesses to propel towards one thing, profitability, second, a better sustainability reporting. Over to you, Doctor.
Okay. Thanks again, Dishan. And as we look at 21 SGS, our first couple of lectures, almost 6 of them, were focused on general topics. And then we moved into looking at the 3 emergencies, where we covered the climate emergency, health and social, and then we moved on to economic emergency. Now, today, we move into our disruptors. And today, the first disruptor we are looking at is new technology disruption. And one of the challenges of a 21st century leader is to ensure that when we talk about disruption from technology, this should not just be an interest area of the chief technology officer or the chief AI officer. This should be a board-driven decision-making opportunity. And I am a strong advocate of the fact that in the 21st century, boards have to be the drivers and constantly on the sharp end of new technology to be able to recommend to the chief technology officer what technologies they should be embracing as they move forward. And one of the interesting opportunities that I have had in my career is also to look at setting up the first nanotechnology institute in Sri Lanka. And this really helped me to understand the new technology much better than ever before. So today, from a whole plethora of new technologies that are in the marketplace, I want to just touch on some of the 12 of the climate technologies that have begun to take root in and play a key role in helping companies do better. I want to especially spend time on solar power and AI-driven power grids, and from there move on to what is happening with the global electric vehicle market, move on to AI mobilization, and then share a few thoughts on nanotechnology and how through graphene it is desalinating water, and end with precision agriculture. So that is the agenda for today. And so let's start with 18 arenas, as um, McKinsey World has called it. And amongst those 18 arenas of new technology development is e-commerce. And as you are very much in the front line of this, you'll agree that e-commerce has now become a mainstream activity, and companies who are not in e-commerce are going to be left behind. Besides that, we have seen AI software and services develop now to a level where almost every company in the developed world are having AI chief AI officers driving the AI software and services. Cloud services have become mainstream. Electric vehicles today are about 14 to 15% of the global market, but projected to get to nearly 40% of the world's market very soon. And coupled with battery technology, storage technologies, we can see battery tech costs have come down nearly 60 to 70%. Electric vehicles are becoming a mainstream item. Um, from mainstream advertising and promotion, we have now moved into digital advertising. The advent of semiconductors is also quite pronounced, and we can see the power of semiconductors has moved up. Autonomous vehicles are being developed. Space technologies are also a key mainstream item in this area. Cybersecurity management, and last but not least, once again, the whole battery technology development arena. So that is just a quick overview. But one of the interesting things I have found as I looked at technology is that when it comes to electric vehicle sales, wind turbine manufacturing, the whole development of chemical lithium, polysilicon, battery component manufacturing, the whole area of graphite, rare earth materials, cobalt refining, and solar panel manufacturing and rare earth, we can see that the Chinese have begun to take a hold of almost every single one of those key technologies. The first one I want to spend a little time on is the whole technology development in renewable energy and solar power. So if one was to look at some base statistics, globally, solar power has the power to deliver nearly 23,000 terawatts of energy to the whole world if the world can harness it. And this is a very important factor as we look at the development of renewables. Because after you look at the solar power, the rest of the opportunities from geothermal to wind to hydro to uh, the development of all of those technologies, the potential it has to deliver to the world is much less than solar power. And an interesting fact I have come across is that the sun energy produces enough energy to power the world for a year every 88 minutes. So the enhancement of solar technologies through improving its ability to perform is going to be very crucial. And two interesting developments in this field. One is the development of AI driven smart grids. And Affluence is an Australian company and a Canadian joint venture which is doing some exciting work in developing smart grids using artificial intelligence. In terms of the solar panel side, we can see that the advent of perovskite solar panels are having a major impact in terms of their efficiencies. You know, solar panel efficiency was lingering between 12 and 13%. And now, with the introduction of perovskite solar panels, have moved up to nearly 30 to 35%. So a massive improvement is on track. And China is set to uh, develop one of the most advanced perovskite developments in the world, manufacturing facilities in the world. And one of the interesting things I have also found is in the area of artificial intelligence, almost two-thirds of global AI investment is, according to Tsinghua University in China, is being attracted into China. So that is very interesting. And China is slowly but surely beginning to overtake the US and Japan in the number of AI patents and research projects that have happened. And AI acquisitions have really taken off from the COVID time, where pharmaceutical companies, the likes of Johnson and Johnson, Novartis, Pfizer, Merck, Sharp and Dohme, AstraZeneca, GSK, Bristol Myers, have all bought between 2 to 3 AI companies to help in the whole innovation process of pharmaceutical development. And what is interesting is, like we saw with the RNA vaccine, the ability to now simulate the impacts of various products is having a major influence. So that is just to give a big overview and say something about what is happening with solar power and batteries and smart grids. I want to slowly move into the electric vehicle domain. Now, this list of new technologies that I have outlined is by no means a comprehensive list that covers all the new technologies of the world, but it is basically in the 21st century SGS, we are looking at ensuring that the, the CEOs and boards of the 21st century are up to speed with understanding what is happening with some of the major technologies. So if one looks at the electric vehicle market, as at 2022, the world share was 13%. This figure has now moved to nearly 19% in 2024. And it is interesting to see that their projections for the electric vehicle market are close to 33 to 35% by 2030. One interesting fact about the electric vehicle market development was the very first EV was actually prototyped and developed in 1996 by General Motors. and it was titled EV1. And as opposed to having exploited the first development, what happened was that the General Motors company's board basically rejected this idea. And I think one has to give credit to Elon Musk, who bought Tesla from the famous founders, and today has taken Tesla as the cutting edge leader in the development of electric vehicles. And of course, BYD from China has now really come on their heels and is already listed amongst the top 10 companies in motor vehicles. If one looks at motor vehicle sales in the world, Toyota yet heads the list as at 2023, followed by Volkswagen, Ford, Honda, Hyundai, Nissan, Kia, Mercedes. And then, of course, we are now seeing the electric vehicles come into that sector. So very interesting developments are on course. And if one looks at the electric vehicle market shares, as at 2023, Tesla was at about 19.9%, but BYD was at about 17.1% in terms of global EV production. And this is a amazing development on the part of the Chinese to have got that far. But if one looks at 2024, what is very interesting to see is BYD is now, because of its range of vehicles, it has basically overtaken Tesla in terms of volume numbers because of their range of uh, coaches and SUVs, which they are way ahead of the Tesla corporation with the BYD range. So BYD is also one of the world leaders in battery manufacture. And what is very interesting to see is that it has sold nearly 526,000 batteries for vehicles just in the year 2023. So BYD is augmenting their whole drive for well-designed electric vehicles with the whole launch of their BYD batteries, which are among the top 3 battery manufacturing companies of the world. So the fight for the electric vehicle supremacy is going to be very much a battle between BYD and Tesla, as one can see it. But BYD seems to be getting a slight edge in terms of their strategies for export markets, because they even recently developed the world's largest chartered cargo container ship, which can contain up to 7,000 BYD cars for export. So you can see BYD is stealing a march on this. Elon Musk, one has to give credit in this whole space, because when it comes to uh, his portfolio of companies, which range from Tesla Motor Company to the Tesla Gigafactories, which now they have about 6 all over the world, 2 in China, 2 in the US, and now in Europe. They have got one going in Berlin, and there's another one coming up in Turkey now, in Europe. And interestingly, BYD has about 16 manufacturing plants, but SpaceX and SolarCity is his portfolio of companies. So when it comes to the developments, uh, Tesla and BYD are really fighting it out in terms of the marketplace. And what is also quite stunning is that the efficiencies, or the range that cars can now do with the new electrics, have moved from the early days when they could barely do 100 kilometers to nearly 400 to 450 kilometers with the new electrics that have come up. And this is a very, very good sign for the whole world, as we look at the technology development of electric vehicles. Uh, so electric vehicle markets are set to boom. And what is also interesting to note is that the European Union has basically said that by 2035 that they would be not allowing combustion vehicles into the market. The Chinese and Indian government have announced that they will do so from 2040. So we can see that the electric vehicle market is set to really move forward with the developments in battery technology. The range has moved up to nearly 400 to 500 kilometers. So very exciting time ahead on the electrics. I want to now quickly move on to nanotechnology. And one area of interest for me has been the development of the material graphene. So in 2010, two scientists, Andre Grimm and Konstantino Novoselov, uh, both attached to the University of Manchester in UK, were awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics for 2010 for their discovery of graphene. So, what is graphene? Graphene is a flat form of one atom thick flake of carbon which has shown exceptional properties that originate from quantum physics. And this is now being looked at in terms of commercialization and development of this whole technology that is now going to be a major technology going forward in the world of desalination of water. And the reason desalination of water is important is that we have now seen that the world is beginning to slowly but surely run short of fresh water sources. And we are going to have to really move forward in terms of this whole area. And we can now see that the developments are moving forward very rapidly, and we will need to see graphene as a major development area in the world. The last area is the area of precision agriculture, and that is really being championed by the Wageningen University in Holland, and that has really begun to move forward.
Okay. So one of the points that you spoke widely here in terms of distribution or logistics and at the same time mobility by large, if you really look at it, and also the battery technology. So Bloomberg in year 2020, they came out with a lithium ion battery price survey, and they found that in year 2010, a per kilowatt per hour is about $1,200. It has come down now significantly. By year 2020, it has dropped below $250. There are two aspects which is achieved here. One thing is of the cost of manufacturing, so the economic of scale probably would have kicked in here. Secondly, in terms of the improvement of technology, so you have a smaller battery pack and have more storage capabilities of because of its improvements, the way it is being done. Now, the other thing is that when it's come to mobility, it's not just the electrification, how it has a direct impact into your environment in terms of producing and releasing emissions, but also there is another factor which a lot of people kind of don't perhaps see it in that way, but I'm trying to want to elaborate that here. So in terms of the amount of parts which goes into manufacturing electric car is far less. It's actually less, 80% less than a gasoline car. So there's so much of components goes into a gasoline car versus an electric car. That's number one. Number two, in terms of maintenance costs, it's 90% less maintenance costs. That means there is no
Mhm.
oil change, very minimalistic assets which is been consumed in terms of for the mobility of that asset. So all these things, there are no less moving parts, so there's less um, uh,
Maintenance.
maintenance. So that means there's less manufacturing of parts. So that itself has an impact on your environment. And the other part is that in terms of charging an electric car is 90% much more cheaper than fueling a gasoline car. The reason
Correct.
behind is that even for the gas, or even if it is petrol or diesel or whatever the formulation that you use, it has to be transported from point A to point B. But electrification is not as complicated, or it's very easy to transport, or rather to deliver if it is something which you're using at your home. Uh, it's you can produce it through solar, and you just had to have an efficient battery pack so you can manage that extra energy that you produce. You can store it and you can charge your car. So some of these new things, and also you also elaborated about solar panels improving. So even at low light conditions, it can absorb energy, and also transport. So I think these are the biggest challenges that I see, and also the annual flow of you know in terms of gasoline cars versus electric cars. I see these are the spillover effects, but of course there's another challenge which we also have to, every new opportunity has its own advantage and disadvantages. One of the things is that the longevity of a electric car is much less than a gasoline car in terms of its life cycle, because of the battery capability can deteriorate over a period like 8 years, and then you have to replace the battery, and what do you do with the battery? And these are the conversations which is happening. But anyway, we will not spend our time on discussing that part, because that's another rabbit hole itself. There is one other thing, Doctor, I wanted to really highlight. I think you spoke about this quite largely. Now, in Azerbaijan, that which is took place, this conference in the 20th of November this year,
COP
they
29.
yeah, COP29. They spoke widely in terms of resource allocation. So one of the things that they have got is they got a $300 billion dollar annual resource allocation, like financial allocation, to be deployed by 2035. But actually, what is required is 1.3 trillion, even more. So I see a huge gap in that. That means that almost $1 trillion gap in terms of what needs to be. But these are the challenges that the world is facing.
But the
The
gap
reason what
is
I see,
even bigger. The gap is very bigger than that, because the requirement is about $6.3 trillion.
I remember you mentioned this in our previous episodes.
Yeah, exactly.
The reason that I don't see why it is not been seen as an opportunity for further invest and gain, because they don't see that spillover effect. They're quite traditional thinking. But I believe with the new changes which is coming in, CEOs and C-suites and investors believe that 82% of businesses and governments and individuals believe that sustainability is a business imperative. So that's a positive thinking which is coming in. Hopefully, these ratios can change. So I quickly just want to jump into our last few topics, which with the given time we have.
Yeah.
What are the quickly, if you can then highlight, Doctor, what are the responsibility of governments and businesses and families and individuals on this scenario?
Yeah. So just before that, I want to wind up the new technologies with the concept of precision agriculture, which is the one technology that I had not elaborated on. And precision agriculture is today uh, very crucial for one to look at, for the simple reason that precision agriculture basically is high-rise development of agriculture in greenhouses. And this is an area that the Dutch have specialized on. And they have been able to set up one of the world's most advanced ecosystems for precision agriculture. with the Wageningen University in Holland, which basically has 6 areas of focus. That is food and agrotechnology, environmental research, bio-based research, livestock research and animal services, and food safety research. What is very, very important to look at is that precision agriculture uses almost 50% less fertilizer, uses 90% less water in the whole agricultural process. And also considering the fact that extreme weather incidents are now rampant and destroying agriculture, precision agriculture could be a way to overcome that issue as well. So, having talked a little about precision agriculture, I'll now move into the last 2 points you talked about, which was, so what should governments do and what should households do in this whole exercise? So let's spend a moment on what should governments do in urgently. The first thing that government should be doing is to incentivize the research and development laboratories and businesses to adopt new sustainable technologies versus being staying with old technologies which are not contributing to sustainability. So whether it is electrification of and mobility, whether it is precision agriculture, whether it is graphene developments in water desalination, the governments should be at the cutting edge of this in policy terms to set out the policies which basically encourage companies to even embracing renewable energy should be basically incentivizing companies to go into sustainable technologies and forming partnerships with the likes of Wageningen University in Holland to advance agriculture because towards precision agriculture from rain-fed agriculture. And they should also be supporting new technologies in key sectors that are important to a nation. For example, in our case, in Sri Lanka's case, we can see that we have a considerable amount of exports in tea, rubber, value-added, tea, rub, value-added, and garments. Now, all three of them can really embrace new technologies. And they should be basically driving these new technologies, incentivizing companies to do that. And what should families do? I think the family unit is the smallest micro unit of anything. And we should make sure that families also are incentivized to move into renewables and to electric vehicles as fast as possible with financial support to help them achieve these two important milestones in eliminating fossil fuel driven energy and fossil fuel driven vehicles. Yeah, so that is a quick summary of the role of governments and businesses and families.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ravi. That's quite insightful, and thank you. I mean, it really captured my attention in terms of like every single area where you can use technology. It's just a matter of changing your mindset, and also then that mindset will always gives you new opportunities, new motivations, and finding the methodology is quite easy because far as you have that right mindset. So this is one of the key factors that all these blockers happens and transformations get delayed because they don't have the right mindset. That's strongly something which I believe. So once again, thank you very much, Doctor, for giving us your thoughts and your knowledge and your insights on technology side of things that can be achieved and possible. And some of the technologies are already here. So it's just a matter of elaborating it and implementing these processes. So next time we're going to talk about what are the geopolitical disruption, which is a very sensitive subject in my opinion, but I'm looking forward to hear from you. So till now, Doctor, then thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a lovely day and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.